Hey, I'm Mike. I'm a student at Liberty University. I'm in the PSYC516 Industrial Organizational Psychology, and this is the productive and counterproductive video assignment. So I'm here in my backyard with my dog. She's playing fetch with her. Don't mind her. But yeah, so we'll start off with the first question. How have recent historical events affected the course of both research and practice in IO psychology? Give several examples and outcomes. So this is a question that we get a lot in this career field is historical events affecting the workplace. Everyone can just jump right to their mind of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. It kind of reshaped the whole workplace environment. You just get up one day and some doctors just like, don't leave the house. It's crazy. They really hyped it up. It's the technological advances of social media really kind of shine positive and negative in that pandemic. How fast you're able to spread the gossip about the pandemic. It was there was legitimate concerns. So basically you weren't allowed to go to work, but people still wanted to work, people still wanted to contribute, so we adapted. We utilized technologies such as like Zoom and video conferencing, and everyone really started rethinking about going into the workplace at all. A lot of commercial real estate went vacant because companies are like, why are we spending money on office space if we can do most of our jobs at home? So yeah, that's one historical event that comes to mind that really affected IO psychology. So example is Fiera, Gomes, and Lopez did a study on autonomy and how it builds confidence, as well as achieving work-life balance and how it's a little bit more important for women than for men based on their studies. But that's a good example of studies that came from the historical event, that was the pandemic. It basically has people really, shedding light on and creating a strong argument for work from home, and how it's honestly probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon, just because of, it's a smart thing to do. Instead, it's, if you can do your job at home, why go to work and waste an hour, 2-3 hours a day commuting? It's a strong argument. So moving on, recruiting hasn't always been tied to organizational psychology, but the pros of prompt: you're a consultant offering advice to a recruitment director at a local university, and you're trying to get qualified candidates. It's always, any organization, it's an issue you have, so recruiting is important for any organization. Like getting your name out there, letting people know what you do. Social media is a great way to get a presence out in the public. Networks such as Indeed, utilizing Handshake, ZipRecruiter, great places to put a job wanted ad, to find good potential candidates. And where I had luck with was job fairs. The company needs people, just host a job fair, maybe get Chick-fil-A, a little catering, meet and greet with some people. It's a great way to screen potential candidates. Typically the candidates that go to a job fair, more than likely they're a little bit more proactive than the people that just spam Indeed applications. So that's something to think about, so. And also, like, a job fair is cool because you can get a face-to-face interaction with somebody, and you can kind of screen that way too, to weed out maybe not good fits. You just kind of can get but even before going to an interview, So it's an idea. All right, cool. So moving on to the next question, we're consulting hiring manager they hired a high performer, and we want to make sure he stays happy and works for the company for a long time. And one of the big issues that we want to address is the work-life balance. And I believe this is an awesome question because it applies to a lot of people. To be a high performer in any career field, it's a full-time endeavor, and most people, they want to have a family and have leisure time off, and think it's important to balance that. So I would recommend a hiring manager just obviously have a one-on-one, get to know the person, get to know their family situation, get to know what schedule works for them, and maximizing the productivity, but also understanding that adequate time off is good for not burning out. Because as I'm in my 30s now, and I understand that life's a marathon, not a sprint. I've gone through jobs and I've worked crazy hours being a high performer, but it does take its toll, and you're almost like the hare in the story, the tortoise and the hare. You just kind of get burned out, and it's not sustainable. So I think a manager motivating top performance, obviously that's what any manager is, the manager above him is making sure everyone's producing, but to also try and find work-life balance when you can, when regards to your high performers, or else you'll just have a bunch of hares sprinting, in spurts, and instead of a tortoise that gets you to the finish line, that because at the end of the day, organizations, they don't like turnover and stuff. So if you can keep some tortoises, that'll keep your organization running effectively and efficiently. That's the long-term goal, and probably it's most efficient for them and is the organization as well. Cool. All right, now moving forward. So it was brought to the attention of organizational citizenship behaviors, requirements on job applications, on how things like dependability, trustworthiness, reliability. It's brought to my attention that they're overemphasized, where overall competent job requirements are just overlooked sometimes. So just shedding light on that. I believe OCBs, they coincide with core values and ethics from an organization. And, as my career at least, you go from, I was in the military and then had a few civilian jobs before and after my service. It's all like an echo chamber. The OCBs, they are very important. Because you want to have a good core value in an employee, and that will make you have a good organization. But I can see how they're over advertise those roles and stuff. So I pulled up a job that I worked back in my past, a U.S. Foods delivery driver. And my perspective is it's unbiased to my own career path. It could be different for anyone else, but I do see training environments as fixed, controlled environments where you can learn basics. So I've learned CDL work, like trucking, and I just went through a plumbing apprenticeship. So these training environments in school as well, you learn a lot of good stuff, but it's a controlled environment. And when you get out in the real world, it's just a lot different. I think a majority of what's learned in a workplace is simply hands-on, on-the-job training. Typically, CDL and plumbing I've seen is, I went through, to get my CDL, I went through some basics to make sure you can drive a stick shift, operating the truck without hitting anything. I mean, it's a good prereq for sure. But then with US Foods, you got to learn backing methods, where to take the truck, where to not take the truck, and sometimes you just got to make it work because the truck's too big for the dock or something like that, So it's a lot of just problem solving. on the job. Similar with plumbing, they teach you the basics, connecting the pipes together, but you get in the residential environment, you're more so catered to what the customer values. So they get a call, they got a leak, you gotta figure that out. Sometimes they gotta cut a hole in a wall or solder in a confined space where you have an open flame. So it's just a lot to learn, just hands-on. So that's where there's some value to show some specifics on a job description, but I've from my experience, like especially in the military, I was a weather forecaster. You learn a lot of stuff, a whole meteorology degree, and you go present that to a colonel. He doesn't care about quasi stationary low pressure systems. I mean, how does it affect the mission? How does it affect him? Similar with plumbing, it's like, do they care about PEX and copper and pro pressing? No, it's like they got a leak, fix the leak. A lot of it's application, solving the problem at hand. But I think OCBs, they are important, but I think it's more of the echo chamber of hearing them all the time. Hopefully, by the time people get into the bulk of their careers, they got all that down pat, and they can more look at the job requirements. But I think most of the job requirements, basically, you want to, especially in my line of work that I've been in, you want relevant, closely related experience. So US Foods, they want, I think, a year or so of verifiable tractor trailer experience. So you drive a truck, but then I'm a larger person, so I make the most money doing physical work. So the physical requirements is another one that's pretty spot on. It's like you're pushing, pulling, lifting 20-pound, 80-pound plus boxes. That's kind of the gist of the job. So you want to be transparent with some of the bona fide standards of employment, such as that, because you don't want to hire a 80-pound person and throw them a bunch of meat boxes. I mean, so those are the good things to look at in a job application. But yeah, so that was, I shed light on some of that job applications. It is a tough science to what to put on a job application, But I think just some transparent, bona fide standards of employment, and then closely rated job experience is just a lot simpler to bring someone up to speed if they come from a closely related career field. So, all right, cool. So moving forward to the next question. So this is on counterproductive work behavior. So this was an experience. This is an experience I've seen throughout my career. So organizations get bigger. There's more of a workload, so they bring on more people to fit the workload. What I've seen is there's a law of diminishing returns in the amount of people you can throw it at a problem and what can be done about said problem. So I believe there's like in the military they called it billets. So there's a certain set billets for the amount of work. It's like a calculation you can run. Like I would call it a homeostatic number that you need for people in a certain job or career field. And if a manning level goes below that threshold, the workload burden could be too much and lead to burnout, and maybe not non-retention from that area just because of that reason. But there's another side of the spectrum. I believe it's not as much talked about. It's when too many people sign up and you're like, well, what do we do now? And then you can have what I called in the military was like you overstaff, so you have too many chiefs, not enough Indians. So there's not not a lot of work going around. People, they get bored. They might start, having disagreements and arguments and lose sight of the mission. Basically, they call this in psychology diffusion of responsibility. It was made famous by, it's called the bystander effect. There was a gal who, she got killed in New York, and so many people saw or heard about it, according to the detective, and no one did anything. It was just because, there's too many people associated on a certain problem. There's a mindset that must be someone else taking care of it. I don't really need to worry about it. So that's something you want to avoid, but you don't want to get rid of people to where you don't have any. So it's a spectrum and a fine line that each manager needs to, walk. So, but that's some of the things I've seen on my experience, and in regard to all these questions. But I believe all these questions and this career field in general has really helped me rethink my work in general. A lot of things that resonate with me are the burnout and the high performer, trying to balance that, and always keep it simple with the tortoise and the hare. Try and think like the long term, the marathon, instead of the sprint. The sprint will get you point A to point B, but at what cost? Is it going to cost you the rest of the, because I've worked some different jobs, and now I'm kind of set on what I want to do per week, and then the balance I want to have, because I got a girlfriend and a dog, taking care of them. I want to spend some time with them, spend some time at the house, endless projects here. So a lot of these questions have been good, and I've gained a lot from this class. So thanks for listening to me through the end, watching me fetch my dog and ramble a little bit. Yeah, have a good one.